hard for her to find some time or somebody who she trusts to do her hair. Like, you wouldn't exclude this most awesome hairdresser who does your hair amazingly
We're
because she
about
has
to
the
go
rest. So
live
I thought about
on
that, when you were
Breakfast with
talking about this. I think
Champions,
just living out loud, that's my
the
style.
Millionaire Breakfast
Being
Club.
able to see
Yeah,
me
I think that's
grow
what it
lets them
is.
know
We're
that
on
you grow. It
Clubhouse
doesn't matter if
and we're
you
also
show,
live
even
on
Glenn. We've
YouTube.
seen growth in
So,
Glenn in just
welcome
this month.
everyone
Glenn
to
is
Dr. Dale
light
Reports.
years ahead of me in the speaker space, right? But we see growth in him. You see growth in me. It doesn't matter. People living out loud and seeing the growth sets an example. So it is really what I'm trying to do. It's not what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm doing. Showing up here as myself. The word authentically can be overused, but just because when I think it's reciprocal. When I grow and you grow, we grow. So I love that. So thank you, Janelle. That is my time. I will hand over to Dr. Dale Elizabeth, who is filling in for Dora Maria this morning. So welcome, Dr. Dale. Actually, Dr. Dale will start to rotate with Dora on Saturdays, but she is going to also take Monica's half hour. We got a lot going on, people.
Yes, we do.
Dora's out at a retreat. She's in the woods. Monica's at a wedding. And so thank you, Dr. Dale, for taking the hour. Good morning.
Absolutely. Good morning. Please let me know I am loud and live.
You are loud and clear.
Thank you so
Loud and
much.
live.
Loud and live. Yes, I'm sorry.
No, you're good, Marilyn. You're absolutely good. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. Why is it that these past 2 Saturdays that I've been coming in, that the vibration and the energy is in sync? The conversation, the energy, the love, all of it is in sync, because some of what you talked about is the flow that of what I'll be talking about. So that just tells me that I think we're on the right track as it relates to where, what people want to hear, what people need to hear. So I'm gonna go with that 100%. So thank you so much, Meredith. This was a really good. I was listening in early on, and for those that don't know, yes, Dr. Dale, I am human resources executive professional by day, and every other second of the day, that is your emotional intelligence coach, right? And I said every other second of the day because without emotional intelligence, you need it to help you function in life. If you didn't know, you need it to help you function in life, right? And then a human resources executive for the past 15 years. That is my jam. That is my profession. And it's not, for those that don't know, human resources is not only the people that hire and fire you. Okay. So stop giving us that street credit out there. It's also the people that help, take you on your path and, your career, your growth, remind you of, for those that don't know or people that do know, employees in the workplace, the resources within the organization that you have available to you, right? Some people really don't know what their rights are, and what is it that the company can offer to make you a better person, to grow you, and to know that the company has rights, you have rights. Let's marry them together and let it become a beautiful bridge of dance, right? So that's what it is. So Marilyn, I think you mentioned something, and I wanted to say something about it. Somebody mentioned, I think it was Janelle that mentioned different seasons in life. And I think Marilyn mentioned something about it as well. And interestingly, I had a conversation with someone earlier this week that mentioned exactly that. Some seasons are long and some are short. But the point of all the seasons is that they come to go. They're coming through, they're passing through, they're not staying, right? So if the season that you are in seems a little wonky and probably not the most comfortable right now, it's coming to go. It's just moving. It's gonna be here for a little short time, I promise you. So it's okay. It's coming to go. And then though, if you're in a great season right now, enjoy the heck out of it. Enjoy the heck out of it, right? Like Les Brown says, you're either going into something, an issue, you're coming out of one, or you're about to go into one. So arm yourself with all of the tools and the resources, and that's where you are. You're in the right place at the right time. Breakfast with Champions, right? Where you're not only getting the thought-provoking conversation. This is the breakfast that you're going to need to carry you throughout the rest of the day, throughout the rest of your life, that you can put in your pocket, that you can grow from, right? What you know, what you didn't know, and what you can get to know, right? And then you can take that and you can take that to the rest of you can move with that. So now, getting into it, this is we're in Q3. So I wanted to stop and say, I know for those that are ahead of the game, or they have their goals and they're like, I'm gonna do this differently in Q3. This is what I'm gonna do, and I have my list, and I'm gonna knock this out because I couldn't do it in Q2. So I wanted to say that's all fine and dandy. That is actually pretty amazing that you're ahead of the game and you're ready, set, go. But no buts, because my teacher used to say, when you say but, it makes it sound like there's something bad is coming after. So I'm gonna say and I'm gonna say and let's make sure that we're we're not just rushing into it like this, like the movie says, only fools rush in. We're not just gonna rush into it, right? Let's make sure that we have A, B, C, and D, right? So that way this quarter you can actually make sure that the roots are correct, are built correctly, are good, right? The roots are strong, right? So that's where I want to kind of start this morning before we go right into Q3. So I want to ask a question. The question is, who are you? And if your first answer, and you want to pop off and tell me your accolades, your position, your titles, your certifications, what you've accomplished, then I am going to ask you to maybe go back to the drawing board, or maybe give it a little bit more thoughts. Maybe give it a little bit more thoughts. Why? Because if your response was the accolades and what you've done, then I'm gonna ask you, are you sure those things, because that's what they are, they're things, right? Those things that we acquire in this life, they don't come to stay. They just get added on to who we are. They're not who we are, right? So if your answer to the question was, I am a daughter, I am a mother, I am a wife, I am a coach, like in my case, I'm an HR leader, I am an entrepreneur. Some of you may be as well. Some of you may have your 9 to 5, awesome sauce, because I do too. All right? You may be a friend, a cousin, a woman, a man. Some people call me, most people that get to know me, loud. Yeah, and they're like, yeah, she's the loud one. Yeah, I'm downstairs in my office and my HR team is upstairs, and they're like, yeah, that's Elizabeth. Yeah. Let me sidebar right quick. I was in one of my previous companies that I used to work in, my chief human resources HR used to tell me that, she told me something a long time ago. She told me that, she said, that your office is right next to mine? And I'm like, yeah. And she said, do you know that I would be in there? I was in there terminating such and such employee. And at the minute I said, unfortunately, we're going to have to let you go to that particular employee, you would burst out laughing. And I was like, I laughed when she told me, but it wasn't, she's like, it was like at the right time. You just burst out laughing when I said that. And I'm like, well, that's no laughing matter. And I'm sure the employee that was getting that news could relate, right? That's no laughing matter. But she said, and it just kind of, she said, interestingly, I said, I'm sorry, when I burst, I was like, ha, when she said it. And she's like, no. I said, and then when I said that, I said, oh, I'm sorry. And she was like, no, 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 it's a good thing because it happened so far 3 times. I was like, oh my gosh, seriously? She's like, yes, 3 times. And she's like, every single time it happened, the person that they were giving the bad news to, that they had to be terminated, smiled. And that kind of disarmed them and made them feel like the conversation. Did somebody blink their mic or something to start?
I'm blinking, Dale, because I was going to say you're always laughing and you're always smiling and you're always bringing joy no matter where you go. That's that happens.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. And someone else told me the same thing yesterday, and I said, I told myself a long time ago, way before I came up here to the States, right? You guys know that I'm from Honduras, born and raised, proud of it. And a long time ago, I told myself, as a little girl, I think it was 12 years old, looking out the window, wishing and hoping, because my family was working on paperwork for us to come up here to the States. And I was, every single, can I just tell you guys that every single week when we knew that we were coming up to here to the United States, my sister and I, every week we would go into school and we would tell our friends, yeah, we're going to the States, so you guys won't know us for very long. We're gonna go up there and be famous, and we're gonna forget who you guys are. And every single, like, the minute we knew that our paperwork was ready and it was just a matter of logistics or something, and that happened every single week. A month, they're like, oh, so you guys are still here. We thought you guys were gonna go to the States, and da 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 da. And I was like, I told my sister, can we just stop saying this? And the minute we stopped, that last week is when our paperwork went through and we were able to come up here to the States. But I said that to say, I said to myself a long time ago, to Tina's point, that I would laugh. Like, I want to laugh out loud every day. I asked God for that. I said, give me your smile on the days that I don't have a smile, right? Because every day I don't have a smile. And when I don't have mine, give me yours. Because I didn't like, when I'm around people, for people to be not happy or not good or not comfortable. And if they didn't have it, I wanted to be the one to give it to them. Right? And by joking and saying something funny or just lightening the mood, whichever way I can. So since then to today, there's not been a day that I haven't laughed, even if the bad days, even if the days that things are not so great. I look at my team all the time. I said, this is the reason right here why I am working in this business, for this kind of foolishness. And I would burst out laughing, because some days you have to question, man, seriously? This is what we're talking about? Anyways, I digress for a long time. So if anybody want to pop in and chime in on anything that I've said, please jump in.
Dale, I just want to thank you for, like you said, your lightheartedness, and it's very rare to find people like you. Remember when we had our very first conversation, and I was like, wow, this doesn't seem real. And, like I said, you and I are alike when it comes to energy and positivity. And I'm like, this can't be real. This can't be real. And you're always so upbeat. Even when we were in Dallas, it was like, wow, party, party, party. So I just want to just say thank you for your light. You're letting it shine to all of us. And the little things you say, like I don't think I told you this, but the other day I was telling you, I was thinking about clarity, and you were just like, you just need to, I'm making it very quick what you said. You said, be still. So the other day, as I was doing my 1,000 miles, I saw some water and some grass, and I said, I'm just going to sit here. And I sat in the sun, and I just sat there, and I started breathing and feeling the water in the air. Well, not in the air. I was by water, and I just was still. I just said, I'm just going to be still. And it felt so good. And I got so many ideas, and I felt calm. And I did it yesterday, too, another 100 miles yesterday. So thank you again for the reminder of being still. That's all I wanted to say.
Tina, you're gonna make me cry. You're gonna make me cry. Oh my goodness, Tina. It's the little things, right? You're not saying anything revolutionary. You're just saying simple little things that may work for you and may work for someone else, and you don't know how it's gonna come, how they're gonna take it, and how they need it. But the point is that when you are living to Mary Lynn's point, where she was talking about it, in your authenticity, in your realness, in you, then it comes off as it's organic, it's you, it's easy, right? Effortlessness, right? I'm all about that. The easiness and effortlessness, 100%. So where were we? Do you see how what happens when I digress? So we were talking about, yes. So if you're thinking about the accolades and what you have and not who you are, at the end of the day, you can have all of the different titles. That's a part of who you are. It's not who you are. Who you are is Mary Lynn. Who you are is Melvin, stars Tina. Like, that's you, right? The question is now, what are your attributes? How, Mary Lynn, what she was saying earlier, going back to draw closer to what makes her happy, right? Essentially, it doesn't get any more basic than that, right? Be who you are. Because the more happier you are, the more authentic you are, the more real you are, guess what? You're drawing other people to you. Your vibe is your tribe. Tina says that all the time in her groups as well, right? So you're attracting your people and you are encouraging people. If you're not here to encourage people, uplift people, and help them get them to the next level, what are you here for? And that means people from your kids back, from your friends, your family, like all of that. I am one of the thought that, so if you're not here to reach back and bring the others with you, that was the Great Commission, right? Go help, bring, encourage, inspire, help people level up to the best version of themselves, right? They can be aspired to be like you, but at the end of the day, they have to be themselves. You have to be you. In one of the trainings from KWP, Kim Walsh Phillip, she mentioned your 5 descriptors. What are your 5 descriptors? Right? Meaning, what are the 5 words that every single time somebody encounters you, those are the experiences that they're having, right? In my weekly group coaching that I had some individuals that mentioned their descriptors. Some said they're carefree, kind, loyal, responsible, naive, determined, caring, resilient, hardworking, right? And maybe some of the words not so good, right? Some people said that they were spiteful, calling it what it is, right? And so the question was, when I asked it, okay, so you got words that are great words, loyal, right? Honesty, right? Caring, and being resilient, and being responsible, right? But people that are, if you're a procrastinator, and that's one of your 5 descriptors, I mean, if you're real with yourself, you got to we started this conversation since this morning, from what I saw in the chats, was self-aware, right? Self-aware, you have to be really honest and true and know who you are. If you know who you are, then you got to be able to turn that mirror on yourself 100%, good, bad, or indifferent, right? And I don't even label it as something bad. Label it as, I need to grow more in this area, right? This is an area that I want to maybe tweak it just a little bit. Use your strengths to help your weaknesses that you may or may not have, right? I did an interview this week with a young lady for one of the positions in my department. And I asked, the regular questions that you ask in interview. No revolutionary questions. At least I don't start with the revolutionary questions. I start with the regular stuff. What interested you in this position? What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? How does your values coincide with who we are? Those are the basics, right? And I asked her the question, give me some of your strengths. What is your one thing that you're really good at? What is your superpower, right? And she said, oh, this and that and that and this, and I can multitask. And I was like, okay, that seems like a lot, but okay. Not a problem. That's you, right? That's who you say you are. And then I asked her, okay, what are your weaknesses? Well, give me one weakness. I don't want a lot, just one. Do you know she couldn't come up with one weakness? She's like, oh, well, that's hard. And I was on the inside, I was kind of taken back. Like, you don't have something that you're not so good at that you would like to be better at? She couldn't think of one thing. And the pause was a little bit too long, and the silence was damning, so I had to move on from that, right? So that tells me a lot, right? So self-awareness, to be able to turn that mirror on yourself. So you're trying to tell me no blind spots? Nothing people told you that maybe you should work on? Nothing people have criticized you or gave you some constructive feedback that maybe you should want to work on? Somebody told me something this week, and I mentioned this in my group coaching as well, and I was kind of taken back when the person said this to me in HR. And being in the coach and working with people, you hear some things and just, it's interesting. It's a beautiful thing. And since I've been on this path of whole self-awareness and everything, and discovering myself and being, loving myself no matter what, I'm more open to the feedback that others gives me, that others that I appreciate, that I love, that I admire, that I care about their feedback of me, right? So someone very close to me said that when they talk, I interrupt them a lot. I was like, what? No way. I was like, what are you talking about? No, I do not. And I said, he was like, okay. They didn't fight me on it. And that stayed with me. Because I remember, I don't know if I told you guys, anytime anybody gives me a compliment or not so good of a compliment, I write it down and I go back and like, is this true about me? Right? That's doing the introspective, retrospective work on the inside. Right? Because I care about looking at myself in the mirror and loving myself nakedly, however and whatever is there, without judgments. Right? So when they said that, I went back and I thought about it. And then, interestingly, in other conversations with other people, certain people, I interrupt, cut them off. And I'm like, this is true. My golly. But I'll tell you this is not the first time I've heard it. This was the first time I was ready to hear it. Does that make sense? This was the first time I was ready to hear it. All of the other years before, your girl wasn't ready. I threw it out the door. I was like, that person knows nothing about what they're talking about. Does anybody want to add to that or share their experience with something that happened with them?
Oh, sorry, go ahead. That is huge.
Sulena or Marilyn, either one.
No, go ahead, Marilyn. Let Marilyn.
Oh, I was just going to say, that's another one of those little nuances. You've heard it before, but you didn't hear it before. You weren't ready to act on it before. Yeah, I remember one time somebody telling me, like, ninth grade, somebody told me, you complain too much. And I'm like, what? I don't complain. I really wish that it was like sunnier outside, because the gray sky is bringing me down. And then now I've got these wrong shoes on. Like, wait a minute. Like the second after they said I complained about something. And it was, I wasn't ready to hear it. But yeah, anyway, yes, I'll let Selena go. But oh my gosh, I love that nuance, that self-awareness. Like we can hear things, but it's not until we're ready to hear them.
Amen. Sulena, you want?
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for holding this space, Dr. Dale. This is Selena.
Hello.
Interestingly, I'm here just cracking up laughing, right? Because I'm like, why is she in my house? What's she doing in my backyard? Come out of my backyard. Because one thing, and I think it's not until much later I was ready to receive it, but people will always say, Selena, why you have to be so direct and truthful? And I'm like, well, I thought that was an attribute. But what I realized, it was more so my delivery. Right? It wasn't so much that they couldn't embrace the truth. It was like, I always tell them, it was, a girlfriend said, if you don't want to know the truth, don't ask Selena. If you don't want her to keep it real with you, do not ask Selena. And but I realized later on that it was more so my delivery in telling the truth. So now I tell the truth all wrapped up with M&Ms and marshmallows and all kind of stuff. You know what I mean? To the point that the other day I was talking with someone and they said, I must say I got rejected, but that's the sweetest rejection I ever get. I said, okay, no problem. And I just flooded away. Yes. So that is it. But I was ready to receive it much later on.
Amen.
It wasn't so much the truth, but it was how the delivery.
Right, exactly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I can relate to that. Who else want to pop in? Janelle?
Janelle, I want to pop in.
Yeah.
I thought this was amazing, Dr. Dale. You talked about so many great things. Whether we were talking about like values and attributes, intrinsic versus extrinsic value.
Yes.
And a lot of times when people don't have a lot of intrinsic value, they don't really value who they are inherently, they go to the extrinsic. They're going to go to the external things. So that's a key thing. You also brought up, when you were talking about the whole laughing thing, I think the laughing thing is really key for a couple of reasons. One, laughter is one of those things where we can be comical and you can really, package something in a funny way and really deliver it, kind of like what you were talking about, deliver something where someone may receive it a little bit better from being comical. But then also, laughing is a way that you can really get through things. Some things that are not too palatable, you can laugh about it. Like people say, laugh to keep from crying. And sometimes I say, you laugh and you cry at the same time.
All at the same time.
And at the end of the day, it's something that can be medicine for us. It's something that can be the bridge to help us to keep going. Also, when you mentioned the complaints. So for me, I feel like if you're someone who can complain, but then you can channel those complaints into social activism or changing something or allowing that to be something that elevates something or creates some type of positivity in the world, changing the world, I think that could just be the first step, kind of like an awareness. Like, okay, this is something I don't like. We're going to complain about it, but then we're going to take it a step farther and we're going to change it. We're going to put it into some positive action out here. And then lastly, kind of what you were talking about with the delivery. I think that can be important, but I also know that, as a sociologist, there are different things where culturally, there are going to be times where, depending on who it is, it's going to be okay for someone to be direct. And I think in the world, we really have to tap into different things where it's okay for one person to do something and not someone else. And also, why is it that we value it for one particular person and not the other? So I think, in the wake of all of the things that are happening politically, I think this is going to be a time for us to really tap into a lot of these different things that are going on out here in the world. Why is it that we're doing it? When we talk about fear and mindset and all that stuff, a lot of the stuff that's going on is on account of fear. So we have to really tap into a lot of this stuff so that we can really
get to the point that we are living these values about valuing everyone and looking at everyone for who they are,
Yes.
inside and not externally. But thank you so much for this. This was an absolutely amazing segment. And keep being who you are. People, keep being committed to your cause. Like, I just paid for a hotel because I was too sleepy and the 4th of July traffic was too much getting back from Atlanta. And I had signed up to volunteer for something at 8 a.m. So I got 2 hours of sleep, and I'm getting back on the road. But be committed to a cause. Be committed to something that's bigger than us. And those will be the things that will propel us forward when we are dealing with those things. Sometimes that can be kind of icky, that we may just have to laugh our way through. So thank you all. This has been amazing.
Aw, thank you, Chanel. Oh my goodness, each and every single one of you. So you guys are, my goodness. I'm telling you, this is Breakfast with Champions. That was all of that was all for me, and I welcome all of it, and I appreciate the pour in, because it's good to know that's one thing, right? We may all have different experiences, but let me tell you what we all got. We all got the same emotional roller coaster of life that we go through. We go through the whole same. We all got sadness, frustration, sometimes madness. we all get happy and excited, and all of the whole bit, right? All the same, right? We all have brothers, like we all have all of these things that we're similar, that we are, that brings us together, right? So knowing who you are, and to Janelle's point, showing up and doing it and kicking its butt, and on top of that, bringing it forth with, how are you going to make the world better? Put that into perspective if you're passionate about it, right? If you're passionate enough about it, right? I think Mary Lynn mentioned that she had experience with working in nursing homes or long-term care facilities, and I started out there, right? And that's what pushed me into wanting to go do this whole research on making the workplace better, right? Making the employee experience better, right? Bridging that employer-employee gap, right? Because a lot of times, honestly speaking, that gap is we put that gap there because we're so focused on it. But we can change our focus and our perspective to bridging that, right? And look at what we have in common versus because the company is always looking to, profit and bottom line and spreadsheets and whatever. And the employee just wants to come to work and have fun while they're doing their job, right? And sometimes that can get a little murky, right? That can get confusing, right? But if you focus on, you want to be happy, you want to be happy. So why not? Let's work together to make each other happy. Like, it doesn't get any more simple than that, right? To me, it's simple, but we get so focused on the details, and we forget that at the end of the day, you're a human being, I'm a human being, right? And we have more alike than we have differences, right? And we focus on that, and you run with that. So my saying is, be the boss of you with intelligence. Intelligence meaning when you understand your superpower, using emotional intelligence as a superpower, that allows you to see yourself through you, then you see yourself through the eyes of the world, and then merging all of those relationships that you have and breaking it down even more, empathizing with those relationships that you have, right? And then grooming them, because that's what we're here for. Human beings are here meant to connect. We're emotional beings we're here to connect, right? And if you're not connecting with the people in your life, or you're not connecting with yourself, then maybe you can spring into Q3 and not just focus on your outward goals, but spring into Q3 focusing on your inward goals. That's my point of my conversation, of this whole talk. People may be scared to see their true reflection, right? What is their true reflection, right? Your personal development path allows you to pursue and maintain your professional journey. I'm going to repeat that because you can be out here, try to get your social media up and all of this stuff, and that is all great. Nothing wrong with that. You better be doing that. You better be doing that, right? But why are you doing it? Oh, so I can make more money. Why do you want more money? Oh, so I can get a brand new car and have a really nice house and travel all the time. Why do you want to do that? So I can give my family a better life. Aha! There you go, right there. So it's not about the money. It's about giving. I want to pay off my mother's house. That's my goal. One of my goals. And in order for that to happen, I have to know who I am. But you will make it about money if you don't break it down. Keep on breaking it down. Why do you want it? Right? It's not, I don't say you're trying to make millions. Why? You want to make this money, right? So you can take care of your kids, so they can have a foundation for when you may or may no longer be here, for your parents, for your nieces and nephews that are coming behind you, you name it, right? So that will kind of push me, issues in the workplace. I saw people being terminated left and right, or people resigning when they thought they didn't have any other choice, right? And when they did talk to me because I was that person at the front desk and answering phones. The person at the front desk knows everything, you guys. In case you guys didn't know, the person at the front desk knows it all. They see it all because they are talking to if they're engaged, right? If they're engaged. Not saying I was nosy when I was when I was out there coming up in my career. Not saying I was nosy, but I just wanted to know, and I like knowing. In order for me to know, that means I had to talk to different people. I had got a chance to talk to family members and heard their side of things, the resident, the patients, the administrator of the organization, the different departments, and them coming in and just sharing all the different things that they had issues with each other. And it's interesting how you are the neutral, you're the objective middle person, and I'm getting all the information from all of these different ends, and I'm like, it sounds like all these people just want is happiness. They just want to enjoy what they're doing. But the details of other things is getting murky and just messing up messing up the objective of what their aim is, right? And I noticed that maybe if we just stopped and asked that employee the question before we terminated them, maybe that can change the conversation. Maybe if somebody cared enough to want to make things better, maybe that would change the conversation, right? Maybe if that employee thought that somebody cared, did anybody ask them? And and I shared before that when I had witnessed an employee being abused, and I reported it to the director of nurses in a nursing home, and I witnessed that a string of things started happening. And those strings of things that started happening, it caused me to go deep in. And I feel like this is how you know what your passions are. Like, if it bothers you and it's inhumane or it's not fair to the masses, and that really, it's something that really speaks to you, that is me. I say all the time that it's your God inner voice, it's your inner God voice telling you you're supposed to do something about that. You're supposed, don't ignore that feeling. Don't ignore that tugging on your heart, right? It makes you sick to the stomach. So I saw that, and I don't know what turned on or turned off. And I said, yeah, it looks like I gotta go back to school. And maybe it won't tell you that. Maybe it will tell you, yeah, it's time for you to partner with whatever organization to bring this awareness about this other stuff, to Janelle's point that she mentioned earlier, bringing all of this social impact management. That's my specialization when I got my doctorate in business administration. And and how it affects the masses, right? So when these couple of domino effect that happened with this nursing assistant, when that happened, three things came out. One, so yes, we terminated her and her license got taken away, so she couldn't work no longer as a nursing assistant, right? Unfortunately. So think about what that means for her family, right? She lost, she can no longer provide for her family in that way, right? If she loved and enjoyed being a nursing assistant at one point in time in her career, she can no longer do that. At least not in the, not in the state that she was in here in Florida, right? Two, that hurt her family financially. Two, in the workplace, a few of her coworkers, everybody decided to come out the woodwork and say, oh, thank God you guys got rid of her because she did that stuff to so many other patients. I couldn't even get that sentence, those sentences that came out of people's. I said, if you worked with her for such a long time, why didn't you say something? No, I'm not going to be deemed a snitch. No. I said, so let me get this straight. We got patients dying or ended up in a hospital because a nurse was burnt out or CNA was burnt out. Nobody paid attention? Nobody saw that? And then the other third thing that happened was there were a couple of incidents that happened that if somebody had just stopped and questioned it, you would have picked up on it. She had issues at home that contributed to her not wanting to be there. So she worked, caused her to be burnt out, caused her, and I caught her at her wit's end abusing this patient. That's it. It all speaks to each other. If your home life, which is you, is not on point, is not healthy, something is off, you need to do something about that because it catches up to you. And one of my clients in the group coaching said, you can run, but you can't hide for too long. It's best that you it is best that you stop running. Take off your running shoes. Take them off. And that's the point of my conversation. Take the running shoes off. Stop running from who you are. Own it. Figure it out. If you don't know how to get started, talk to a friend. People that you consider friends. Please make sure you talk to the right people because you got to make sure you got the right people in your corner, right? And they really don't have any hidden agendas, right? Very important. If you don't talk to a family member, right? If it's something that really traumatic, maybe you need a therapist. Maybe you need somebody like me, a coach. Who knows? But say something to someone, right? And get over that hump and let Q3 be the beginning of that. If you're in this room, you were meant to hear this conversation. This is meant for you. Stop putting it off. Stop doing that. Stop putting it off and ignoring it. It's time for you to listen to you. I don't know you, but I know that we are kindred spirits. I know that we may look different, we may come from different backgrounds, but like I mentioned before, we all have the same emotions, right? So how are you exemplifying who you are, your emotional roller coaster? Life out here in these streets, like I called life, is serious, right? And you gotta have a strong foundation. So I tell the people in my group, I said, if you're trying to plant a tree, I showed them a picture of a group of men with this big tree, trying to put it in the ground, but it looks like it wasn't gonna fit because the roots, the ground the soil they're trying to put it in, it wasn't deep enough. It was surface level. And I said to them, is this tree gonna stand up? Some people said yes, some people said no. It's not gonna stand up. You know why? Because the foundation is off. It's not gonna last. It's gonna fall over. How's your foundation? Strengthen your foundation in this new quarter so that you can last the next quarter and you can really come out swinging, right? But you can't do that if you don't know what are your triggers, what are your weaknesses, what you like, what you don't like, why you don't like it, if you don't know who you are. So that's the point of this conversation. Does anybody want to add to what I've said before we get too close to the end? Gail, is that you?
Yes, Dr. Dale. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm so glad that I was able to connect in this morning. Gail Dopp here. I was just checking back at a conversation that I had with one of my sons, my oldest son, and he's a real little kind of a quiet guru when it comes to things. He thinks, and then he speaks. He doesn't do like his mother does.
Yeah.
Open her mouth and then think afterwards.
Yeah.
And I can remember back about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years, he was talking, and I think that I do what you do. I interrupt. I do. I get so bubbly and so excited that I do interject. Well, he took it upon himself to give me a life lesson, which I have been blessed to have. The minute that I started to talk, he closed up his notebook and said, "You know what? We'll catch up a little bit later." And kind of like dismissed me. And I go, "Oh, no. Go ahead and finish." He goes, No, that's okay, Mom. He said, "You're obviously, you needed to talk about something entirely different." And he said, I don't want to interrupt you right now. So go ahead and, I'm when you have time, we'll connect. Well, this happened several times. This didn't just happen once.
Mm-hmm.
This happened several times, and I ended up in complete tears, breaking down, because I felt so bad. It actually makes me feel emotionally to think about it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize I was doing it. I would never hurt anyone I love, everyone I love. I love everyone. I would never do that, but I was doing it consistently. And so I am so grateful that he chose, such a profound way to do it. It wasn't to yell at me. It wasn't to get angry. It was just to like close up and like, okay, well, we'll do this again later when you have the time, to pay attention. So I just love that, and I wanted to share that real quickly with you this morning. Thank you so much. You guys have an amazing July 4th weekend.
Oh, I appreciate that share, Gail. Thank you. I'm so happy he did as well. Oh my goodness. Anybody else want to add to the conversation? Oh my goodness. Okay, awesome. So don't forget that you owe yourself. You came to this world. That is the number one thing of all the knowledge that you will attain in this lifetime. The knowledge of knowing yourself will be the greatest achievement you will ever get. But that can only happen if you prioritize it. Prioritize you. Don't only go for the accolades that people can see on the outward appearance. When you live authentically, but really live in your naked skin, so you can understand, like, I'm like really loving yourself no matter what, how you can do, the minute you can do that, you are living for you. You are learning you, right? And the people around you give you the opportunity to see yourself in these different perspectives. And you get to know your blind spots, and they're not so blind anymore, right? And you start attributing all of the things that bother you and how you show up today to why, right? To the why. I grew up, I didn't like not I don't like being like yelled at and, like just attitude and like that is a pet peeve for me and people on my team and everything. And I know that because that's kind of the environment that I grew up in. Any little thing, you got your hand slapped, right? And instead of saying, no, you do it like this, because if you do it like this is the reason why, this is what happens. No, but the tone I got was, why? What? Don't do that. Move that. Get that's that the minute you do it like that, your kids, and just look at how you're treating them, and make sure that you're not bringing with you, most of the time we are, the stuff from your past, how you were treated, because they will pick up on it. They will remember it. And just like how you and I are having this conversation today in 2023, in your 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, or whatever that you are, they're going to be doing the same thing. And they're going to remember something that happened that caused them to show up the way they're showing up today. And now they have to go unlearn that subconscious action that they currently have as an adult today, so that they can be a better person tomorrow for their kids, right? But unfortunately, most of the time we learn this stuff, realize this stuff. Not that it's too late, because it's never too late as long as there's breath in your body, but I'm going to say, not the damage has been done, but what's done is done. What's done is done, right? And you can't go back. You can't go undo any of that. The best thing you can do is forgive yourself, forgive them, let it go, and do better tomorrow. Forgive yourself, forgive them, let it go, and do better. That's it. That's where all of the conflict resolution lies, with yourself, with the people in your lives, whether they're still here, they're not here anymore in this life, whatever it is. Let it go. Well, but I can't. Yes, you can. You've been telling yourself for 25 years that you can't do it, because that's what you've been telling yourself. And I say, tell yourself a different story. Tell yourself a different story. I challenge you to tell yourself a different story. I challenge you. This new quarter we're about to go into, that's going to be amazing for you. This is going to be so successful for you. Going to allow you to grow intellectually, internally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, your health. This new quarter is going to be one of the best yet. Are you ready? I hope you're ready. I'm ready for you. I'm ready for you, right? And I challenge you to open up. Open up the windows. Uncover all of those blind spots. It is what it is. It happened. You can't undo it. So what? Forgive yourself and let it go. Because that's what else are you here for? What are you going to do? You can't do anything about it. And you can't not forgive them, right? If you believe in the Great Commission, God and Lord Jesus Savior, he's like, you can't come to heaven if you don't forgive. And I'm not about not getting into heaven because I refuse to forgive you. I'm going to forgive you. I can forgive you from afar. I love you to death, and the best of luck to you. That's just my perspective. Does anybody want to jump in before we I'm not. Who is speaking?
That's Charlene.
Hi,
Good
Charlene.
morning.
Hello.
I love your energy. You're just like such a high vibe, positive person. I love it so much.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I love what you shared about really challenging the story that you've been telling yourself, and just deciding to forgive and let go. I, for one, have definitely challenged the story that I've been telling myself about what I can and cannot do. And you know something? I've just decided that it just doesn't please me to tell a story of limitation. It doesn't please me. In fact, not even my cells are in agreement and in integrity with that story. Not even my DNA, not even, there's nothing about me that agrees with that story. And so I really have the power, and we all have the power, to have real boundaries with the thoughts that we have in our minds. Just like we would have boundaries over somebody who wants to criticize and judge us, we have the power to have that same boundary within our mind. And the beautiful thing about boundaries is that we get to incubate and insulate the things that we do agree with. So telling the story of power, telling the story of capability, telling the story of joy and love, and that it pleases me to tell the story of my power because it's actually true. And so I love the invitation that you've given us to really look at our own stories that we've been telling ourselves, so that we can make a new one, just a new agreement, and come back into integrity with how much we love ourselves. Over to you.
Thank you, Charlene, for that. Such a soft, beautiful. Oh my goodness. I'm in love with your voice. Don't tell anybody I said that, but I'm in love with your voice.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I'm gonna end on this and put my thoughts on
Dr.
it.
Dale.
Who wants to pop in?
It's Dr. Emerald.
Oh, absolutely! Come on, come on! We got some minutes here.
Okay, great. I'm only going to try to keep it under a minute.
Okay.
So I appreciate everything you share. I really, really, it resonates with me because of things that have happened recently. So Asian parents in medicine, it's very, very similar, and there's other cultures as well. It's just like the top-down approach is hierarchical. Do it because I said so.
Yeah.
Which I think is the wrong approach.
Yep.
And even if you come from that approach, it's like what you said, like don't like bring the crap from your stuff. So the way, because I worked at the DoD, so basically we treated active duty service members from all branches, so they had to be ready to be back in field or field. So they like mission ready, I guess.
Yeah.
Where's Christina Howard? I'm still like, it's like sleep is essential, so I'm a little groggy. But yeah, so you want to be mission ready, field ready, like game day ready, if you do sports reference.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't want to be dragged down by the mud. Like was it airborne? So if you jump out of an airplane, this is perfectly normal airplane, you decide to jump out of the helicopters. So when you jump down and you land, you have this parachute, and the parachute brings all this crap with you. So like basically that's life. You like jump down. It's an adventure. It's a journey. It's like exciting and fun, and you kind of choose your own adventure. So you're gonna have like something you're gonna land on the rocks and or whatnot. But basically you capture all this stuff from life, whether it's good or bad. And you want to be able to filter out like the good and the bad. You have to be able to acknowledge that life isn't fair and that there's things that are crappy, but you want to grow from them. So like, don't bring all the bad crap and keep bringing it with you. Like, you know, like the dirty, bad, the good, bad, and ugly. So you don't want to bring like the bad and ugly. So like, let that go. So as my daughter says, like, let it go. I'm not a singer. Mary Lynn, I think you're a singer. And so just tying in from last week, stories matter. So the stories that you tell yourself, the stories you tell your children, like
Yes.
Don't let your story limit you, because being a good Asian daughter and things that made me a great fellow resident, junior attending, like you want to anticipate what your elder wants, so you kind of kowtow to them. But then at the same time, for me, because I'm very empathetic, I'm like, oh well, I must have done something wrong. Like I blame myself for my residency program getting ACGME flagged because my elder resident asked for the orientation handbook. And
Yeah.
by giving her that handbook, she was able to go line by line saying, like, your residency program shouldn't be accredited because ABC, and she like pointed everything out. Like she could have been a lawyer, but it was mean to the rest of us because she wanted a vendetta because she felt wronged. And this stays in this room. Nobody should repeat it.
No.
Yeah, so like that was wrong. Like you don't take out your
Frustration. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll end with that. So you want to be kind to yourself because you don't want to have the extreme of like the narcissistic traits, as Dr. Janie Lacey says, but at the same time, you don't want to have a bunch of like downtrodden people like, oh, it's all my fault.
Right.
So I will end up with that. You want positivity, and you don't want to have the negative ripple. You want the positive ripple. You don't want to have the crabs that pull you down. You want to pull everyone up.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. That was amazing. I love it. Oh my goodness. Yes. You want to be right in the middle, right? And that's the middle. The middle is a lot of grays, right? That's where the grays are at. And you live in that sweet spot, right? And I'm going to end with this quote from Tony Robbins. Self-development is the only thing that keeps a person from burning out. We all have many needs, the needs for certainty, the need for variety, the need for significance, and a need for connection. But ultimately, we must grow and we must contribute in a meaningful way in order to be fulfilled. This has been a conversation with Dr. Dale, and I pass the mic
to the amazing Mary Kim. I will do a little reset. Yes, we're all moving and grooving and shaking and baking and all the good things. And so while Monica's at a wedding and Dora Marie is at a church retreat, Christina worked her butt off. She was up for like almost 24 hours working on her Mary Kay campaign. And so she needed some rest. We talked about how important rest is. Well, so yeah, it's really given us an awesome chance to highlight some different speakers. And so that is amazing. So today you are in Breakfast with Champions, the Millionaire Breakfast Club, where everybody gets a seat at the table.
Thank you for popping in.
We just ask if you're going to come to stage. You have a